and thank you for having me here. Thank you to Saturn for honoring me with the invitation. And yeah, I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to have a conversation with each and every one of you at some point in time. Hopefully, this will be a long-lasting relationship. Today, I wanted to just touch on a couple of very important aspects about property investing. And I listened earlier about the type of investor that's in the room today and the amount of experience that you guys have. And the most amazing thing is that you guys have taken steps. A lot of you have taken steps. Either you've already bought property or you're here to buy properties. And that's the first step, guys. It's crucial that instead of just sitting back and just learning, action is being taken. You guys are out, you're taking chances. So well done to you. Round of applause to each and every one. So just to briefly introduce myself so you know who I am, that hopefully there's some credibility behind my name. My name is Bruno. I'm an attorney by profession. I specialize in commercial and tax, right? Now you might be asking, wait, but this is a property investment evening, why do I have a commercial and tax attorney here? Now if I had to ask you now, property attorney, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? Conveyance. Now, being a conveyancer is only one portion of dealing with property in the legal space, right? There's many different facets. So my business partner's a conveyancer. I'm not a conveyancer. Business partner's a conveyancer. My background is actually in litigation. So what I used to do is I used to go to court and fight on behalf of clients. Commercial, in the sense that all my clients were businesses. They were either investors or businesses investing in property. So I obviously had a lot of input in the contracts. I drafted the deals for them. I structured the deals for them. I made sure it made sense. When I saw that these guys were unfortunately not looking at certain tax aspects, I then stepped in there for years, for about a decade, been focusing on the tax aspect as well, because there were a lot of shortcomings that unfortunately a lot of attorneys miss out. So conveyancing is just one aspect. It's moving the property from one person to another. Putting the deals together, especially for property investors, is specialized. It does take a little bit of effort, and I'll explain to you why. You'll see from the presentation today, this is just a small little part of the things that we all need to consider when investing in properties. But this is one of the most important aspects when it comes to property investments. So the first thing to bear in mind is, unfortunately, well, let's maybe start with this question. How many of you own shares or have invested in unit trusts or collective investment schemes? Definitely. Like most of you, right? Now, when you invest in those type of investment vehicles, do you really spend the time doing research on those vehicles? Do you know every share that you buy when you buy into a unit trust? Do you research those companies? Do you look at the previous year's analysis of the financials and their dividends? Do you do all that assessment on each and every share? The reason you don't is because you're buying into something very small, but you're still buying. You're buying something that you consider to be an asset, and you're hoping that it's going to make a return. The problem is that you're not giving it as much attention as maybe you should, and sometimes those assets fall and they don't make you any money. And unfortunately, we've seen the share market when it comes to dividends and when it comes to growth. A lot of companies have unfortunately start falling out of the top 40 very soon, and they stop. Those dividends stop being realized. Now, property, on the other hand, the difference is that property is addictive. It's big. So we give that attention to property, but it's the same amount of research that you should be doing with each and every investment that you're going to get into. And that's what SAPIN is here for, right? SAPIN is here so that you're able to do an assessment. The same way that you look at a share, you're supposed to look at past performance. That's the tools that we're providing in SAPIN. You're looking at past performance, you're looking at what the property was bought for, you're looking at the rental income that properties in that area are able to acquire. And why is that important? Because those are your returns. That's the equivalent of getting dividends, right? right? It's all the same. It's all the same. You're buying into an investment, so you follow the same steps. You just use different tools to get there. Now, because it's a larger investment than simply buying a share for 50 Rand or 100 Rand, you do need to prepare a little bit more. That's where the education with Saturn is important. But your structuring is also crucial. You have to get your structuring right. Now, the reason why I say this is because if you buy a big asset, an asset where to buy this asset you have to pay things like transfer duty, and you have to pay transfer fees to attorneys. These are all costs that are associated with acquiring properties. If you have to now pay this again later when you're trying to restructure your portfolio and put it in a company or a trust or whatever, what ends up happening is you have to pay those costs again. So if you're willing to pay those costs again later, by all means, you don't need to listen to me at all. But you have to realize that having to pay transfer costs again, so that's transfer duty, transfer fees, and potentially capital gains. Because now you're selling to yourself. But SARS doesn't care, because SARS sees it as one disposal to another. And because it's one disposal to another, they're going to charge you capital gains. Now there's little tricks. So for those in the room that own properties, there are little tricks that we can use to move properties from your personal name into a company without the tax consequences. There's certain downsides, there's upsides. We are going to need to have a conversation around that at some point in time. Unfortunately, a few minutes this evening is a bit difficult to go into the detail of that. But just so you know, there are ways of doing it, but there are certain downsides to it. So preparation is key. And I start off by showing you the slide. So this is just one of the many components of structuring. But the reason I start off with this one is just to give you an idea of the importance. Because at the very least, if you're going to walk out of here with something, at least walk out knowing that the decision on structuring needs to be something on your mind. It might not have to be today, it might not have to be tomorrow, but it's something that as a property investor, everyone in this room, and that's why I said earlier, all of you here are either investing or going to invest. You've taken those steps. So if you're going to take those steps and you're going to become a proper property investor, then you need to be aware of things like this, because this is going to make or break you. If you're creating wealth through certain teachings and you're learning how to assess properties and figure out what the income is and whether you can make this income and how you can maximize your profits, what you need to realize is Saturn is teaching you how to create wealth. But no one's teaching you how to preserve wealth. This is how you preserve wealth. Because you can make it and you can get 100 Rand in your pocket, but if you're giving 45% of it away, you're not preserving it. If you're paying unnecessary costs that you shouldn't be paying, you're not preserving it. And that 45% remark, that's just on your income tax. So this as an example is what I normally refer to as death taxes, death costs. So this is just one example, real life scenario of an estate that went up to 10 million and the person died and we were trying to wrap up the estate on their behalf. This was just before, we could wrap it up because he had come to us for a consultation to have a conversation around how to restructure because he wanted to make sure that his kids inherited the properties, but unfortunately due to COVID, he passed away. So 10 million Rand estate. So we ended up having to wind up the estate in any event. And these are some of the figures that we work with. And you're more than welcome to verify this. This isn't a trick, this isn't a scare tactic. This is pretty average, right? So about 20% is stage duty. So anything above 3.5 million Rand gets taxed at 20%. 10 million Rand estate for property investors isn't much. Let's be fair. I mean, if you guys are going to be real investors, to get 10 million Rand, I mean, that's what, like sometimes 5, 6 properties. It's not an incredible amount of properties. So 10 million Rand, anything above, on your net asset value, anything above 3.5 million, you're paying 20%. If your estate goes over 30 bar, that's going to be 25%, right? Capital gains, you want your estate to grow. So you want that gain, but you're going to need to pay tax on that gain. Personal name, you're going to pay income tax. In this particular case, it was about 900,000. And then all the other smaller costs, but still relatively high. I mean, 291 to transfer the properties, executors' fees are 403. Those you could probably reduce if you did the wall properly. Bond cancellation, if you have bonds, you're stuck. Valuation costs, master's fees, not a lot, and starts getting a bit lower, and there's of course funeral costs on this one as well. 3.28 million. 3.2. Right? 3.2 million. So that was 32 or 33% round up. 33% of the person's estate are paid in costs. Now that's a lot. If you take that amount, 3.2 million, divided, for example, until the age of retirement, so calculate what the amount is per year, and then calculate what it is per month. Whatever that amount is, if you can find a means of paying less than that in order to save this per month, it's worth it. So say, for example, if a trust is going to cost you 600 Rand a month admin, right? Do the calculation back. 3.28 million divided by your life expectancy, divided by 12, that's your monthly budget to at least be able to break even. Anything under that, you're going to save. So just a couple of ideas, think about it, right? If you're planning to hit that 10 million Rand mark, if you're not, then listen to me. Then it's not for you. I'm not here trying to advise everyone, because if I sit in a room in front of someone that buys their house, a residential, they just want one house, they've got a salary, they don't want anything else, very different story. Because then in your personal name, you get a nice residential tax benefit, so it's your primary residence, 2 million Rand capital gains exemption. Please don't buy in a company, don't buy in a house, you really don't have to. You're pretty covered. If your estate is under 3.5 million, you go, right? This is property investors looking to go. So that's just one example of the tax efficiency. Your proper structuring has to take into account asset protection, tax efficiency, finance, and optimization. So very quick examples of this. Another tax efficiency little trick, trusts. Interestingly enough, if you utilize your trusts and their own properties directly, I'm not saying it's a good idea to always do this, but it's a nice little trick and it's totally legit. If you buy the properties in your trust directly and you properly utilize that money for the beneficiaries of that trust, you can ask SARS to tax you in the beneficiary's name and not in the trust. That also gives you a bit of an advantage, because if you're using it, for example, for your kids, you don't have a tax rate, or you're using it for your parents, who have a very low tax rate because they've retired. They're paying tax on the rental income on those properties, but they don't own the properties. The properties stay in the trust. So the properties will be there even if your parents pass away. They'll be there for the next generation. You're only making use of the short-term tax benefits from the income. Financing optimization, very similar thing. There's a lot of people in this room that have hit their cap. You apply for a loan, the bank gives you a loan. Now imagine your glass starts getting full. A bit more of a loan starts getting full. A bit more of a loan starts getting full. When that cup is full, no one wants to give you money, right? So structure your business. Structure like a business. Apply for finance in the name of the company. And at least it's the company's glass that's getting full, not your own. That allows you to use multiple vehicles for multiple businesses. And those businesses will be considered. And yes, you'll have to sign a surety. You're not going to get away with that. But signing a surety is very different to applying for a loan. The consequences of signing a surety are different to having a loan against your name, because that glass isn't getting full. Just remember, signing a surety does not mean that your glass is getting full. So these are just a couple of things, and that's why I keep saying, safe environment, this is what we speak about. We speak about this all the time. We do longer talks over this. There's tools available, so I don't know if you guys brought the papers from outside, which you'll see there. There's QR codes for BSA law, for OTPs issued to tenants. Feel free. Scan them, use them to heart's desire. Intergen, so Intergen's the private wealth company that I have. We've got a special up until tomorrow. If you guys are interested in structuring, contact, scan that QR code, send an email tomorrow with today's date on it and this event name, and Lisa will take care of you, and you can apply. It's about 2,000 Rand less than what they cost. But guys, use the tools. They're there for a reason. And like I said, you reach out to Saturn if you need to. This is what we do day in and day out.
Fantastic, thank you so much.